And he said, well, then do that. I was like, what do you mean do that? He goes, do biohacking. I was like, what do you mean do biohacking? He goes, do a biohacking event. Like, he has to hit me over the head with it. And I'm like, oh, does that exist? Yeah. And, we've been running Comic-Cons together. And so now I say, instead of teaching people how to dress up like Batman, I'm teaching them how to be like Batman. We don't have to get sick anymore. We don't have to succumb to these things. There's so much out there that we can do.
What really surprised me about your event was the vendors that were there. Super legitimate.
I like the way Miguel says it better.
Yeah, PUFA sounds like, I don't know, like some kind of comfortable couch or something.
A PUFA is how we did our hair in the 80s.
I'm a neologizer. I invent words all the time.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Beyond Biohacking Brothers, where we explore all things health optimization, longevity, biohacking, and beyond. Today, as usual, I'm joined by my brother Miguel, and I have the privilege and honor of Sandy Martin joining. We have the privilege of Sandy Martin joining us today. Sandy is the founder of the Biohacker Expo, which is one of the most carefully curated and respected health optimization events in our industry. Sandy has an extensive track record in developing conferences with a fascinating personal health journey that landed her into biohacking and is now on a mission to bring mass access to effective therapies for everyone. Sandy, thank you so much for being here with us today. I'm excited about it.
Thanks so much for having me. This is fun.
Yes.
Yeah, well, next time in person. It's a lot more fun in person.
And
you get all the peptides, you get all the stuff here. We'll throw you the cold plunge.
And the hugs.
You'll do good.
So like Sandy, a Bert Naughty hug every once in a while.
Yeah. So, we're excited. Obviously, we're going to be part of the Biohacker Expo, which will be in Miami again, February 28th to March 1st. And so we wanted to bring you on to talk a little bit about, the first thing is, how did you get into biohacking and what made you put this amazing event together? And we'll talk about the event. I will just say up front to all the viewers that, Miguel and I travel the country going to a lot of these conferences a year, not only to hear the lectures and see what's out there and see the new technologies that are emerging, the new research, but also, the accessibility to tech and vendors, and whether it's supplements or whether it's the Lumen device or any other tech that will help us lead an optimized lifestyle. And I gotta say that Sandy's event is so carefully curated. I mean, you could tell, and I think you could attest, that we could tell a lot about an event and the organizers of the event by the vendors that are there present. There's a lot of snake oil out there. I'm not going to mention any names, but Sandy's event brings together an amazing compilation of doctors, biohackers, and a lot of scientists and vendors that provide amazing solutions, navigating this new world that we live in with endocrine disrupting chemicals and nutrient deficiencies. So first of all, Sandy, thank you so much for, your efforts. I know that it takes a lot to put these events together and work with all kinds of different personalities and, really researching what are the best therapies that are going to cause the most amount of effect for people. And so we'll talk a little bit about that later on in the show. But the first is, how did you get into it? I think it's important that people understand what led you down this path.
Well, I usually answer this a little differently, but I think your audience will appreciate hearing just how far I was from biohacking when I started.
Right.
I thought a healthy breakfast was a giant bowl of oatmeal with cranberries.
Oh my goodness.
Sweet, dried cranberries, right?
Oh my gosh.
Every day of my life, because that's what they told us to do.
Yeah.
I was doing all the things that I was told would make me healthy. Mm-hmm. And I just laid the foundation for getting sick.
Yeah.
And so when I got sick, I had mold that got into my brain because it came through over paint fumes.
Wow.
So it took me until 3 months ago to get the answer as to how it got directly into my brain and took me out so fast. So within 2 weeks of this exposure, just painting some walls, I was in a particularly stressful point of time at work, and I did the Karate Kid move where I painted the fence, sanded the floor. And so by painting, I thought I was going to do something mindless and feel a little peace. Just really calm me down. Calm me down, all right. I lost cognition for about 6 months.
Wow.
And so I went immediately to a neurologist. I didn't know there was mold behind the walls. I didn't know. Like, I had this sense that I noticed the walls were moist. That's how I was able to figure it out. And I noticed that there was some black stuff in some areas. And I painted over it. But I didn't know that was dangerous. Because the general medical community doesn't want you to think that mold can hurt you like that.
Yeah.
It's not easy though. Detecting mold and becoming aware of it is like, that's the last thing on people's list.
Yeah,
to be honest, for the average person.
And in our practice, we've dealt with people with mold exposure, and I mean, it is so difficult to get rid of, and you could do so much HRT, cold plunge, you could do so much stuff and still not get a relief. So mold is super.
Well, that's my story, because I started biohacking because I started watching YouTube videos. I started with impact theory, then the Doctor's Pharmacy with Mark Hyman, and then
he's great.
And then I watched every interview Andrew Huberman did anywhere. It was before he had a podcast. And I became exposed to this world of biohacking. So I got some novel devices that I thought might help me because I was unable to work. I couldn't run my company anymore. I could barely put sentences together.
Wow.
But because it went to my brain first, I got gradually sicker. So it went through the rest of my body. Most people who are exposed to mold, they gradually get tired. And they gradually get brain fog, and it gradually takes over because it's a slow exposure over a long period of time. I happened to have a lot of intense exposure in a very short period of time, and then it got into my living space and into my air vents because of the work I did. And so that situation for me it left everyone confused. I went to a neurologist, and he misdiagnosed me with a traumatic brain injury. And wanted to prescribe a drug to open up the blood vessels in my brain, which could have caused serious harm. And biohacking is not always the devices. Sometimes it's just saying no. But I bought devices because I didn't know what to do. And so I bought the V-Light, the light helmet, to put light into my brain. And I bought a hyperbaric oxygen chamber. And I bought a hard shell 1.5 ATA chamber. No, not cheap. I was determined to get better. But photobiomodulation and hyperbaric did not make me any better at all.
Wow.
And so that's when we get to the difference between biohacking and functional medicine. So had I found a practice like yours, I might not have been taken for $13,000 the first day like I was when I went to the mold doctor that I saw.
Yeah.
And so there are these, I couldn't make any progress from biohacking until I detoxed the mold out of the body.
Yeah.
And just the education I've had to go through, finding out all of the things that my body is detoxing on a daily basis because of all of the things in the environment, the fragrances and the plastics and all of the things which I learned about from you guys.
Yeah.
I just thought it was pollution and mold and whatever's in the water.
Yeah.
But there's so much more. And so it's been this really long process of clearing these things out of my environment, out of my air, out of my water, and getting to a point where my environment's clean. I've used binders and things to get the mold out of my body, sauna as well.
Yeah.
I had to do it really slow. It took me about a year to get better. And then another 6 months to a year before I could start working again.
Wow. Wow, that's incredible.
That's incredible. Well, first of all,
to recover from it, because a lot of people do not recover, unfortunately. And I can't imagine you spend $15,000 between hyperbaric, red light, and then you find out it doesn't work. It's like, now I'm stuck with this stuff. Yeah. Oh my God, I cannot even imagine. Although it's beneficial outside of mold and mycotoxins, but you know, just hitting that wall, like I invested in this, I thought I was gonna get better, and I haven't gotten.
Yeah, no, Miguel has a point. Like, you could have been easily disheartened, or you know, said, "Hey, this was a scam," and gone the opposite direction. Right. Which you didn't. And you know what's incredible? First of all, I'm so glad that you got better. Number one. Number two, I find that the best people in our space are people who have had some kind of health scare. I mean, yours is very extreme, probably one of the most extremes that you encounter. And people don't really know how dangerous mold can be, and how devastating, and how the long effects that it can have, the deleterious effects on your health, long term that it can have, and how hard it could be to recover from it. So number one, kudos to you. Number two, like I said, I find that the best people in our space are the people who have suffered these things and who have had to gone down the rabbit hole, not only in time and effort, research, but also some of their money spent on trying different things. Because although what Miguel said, even though hyperbaric chamber, amazing, especially for brain injuries and photomodulation, it was beyond the extent of what it could do because of the infection that you had, or the exposure that you had. And so what do you think put you, and then I have a second point, which you said, hey, it was a slow process, right? When we talk about endocrine disrupting chemicals, that's one of the things that we kind of warn people about, because it's very easy to become overwhelmed and sort of get this like analysis paralysis, where it's like, it's so much that you say, fuck it, I might as well not do anything at all, dig my hand in the sand. We always say, look, that is the wrong perspective. You do what you can, as much as you can, with the tools that we have available, get educated. And so you start slow. Like when we first started getting into this, I mean, we got into this over 5 years ago. When we read the research, we're like, we are effed. And we started slow, right? We started with our bedroom, we started with our personal care products, and then it extended into everything else that we did, our house products, you know, the things that we feed our dogs, like the things that we eat, the water filters, all of that stuff. So it's a slow progression. So anybody listening, like, don't think that you're going to fix it all at once. It's a journey that you have to take. And I know you said that 3 months ago you found out what did it. What did it? With the ever-increasing demand and stress placed on our modern life, finding ways to wind down and de-stress is crucial to living an optimized lifestyle.
For many of us, Pulsetto has transformed the way we manage stress, recovery, and sleep.
By gently stimulating the vagus nerve, Pulsetto promotes relaxation, reduces the stress response to external stimuli, improves digestion, enhances sleep quality, and boosts overall well-being.
Go to the MHI Recommend section on our website to learn more about this cutting-edge technology and get an exclusive discount, or give us a call if you have any questions. For now, stay healthy
and God bless.
Oh, well, so it was the paint fumes that carried the mold directly into my brain. The VOCs act as a carrier for the mold. Right. And had there not been a carrier in the air, then it might not have hit me as badly. So I had walked through that area over and over and over again, but I didn't lose short-term memory, have trouble putting sentences together, get stuck in the present moment for months. Like, I didn't have any of that, but it was after I painted and those paint fumes carried it. So I think some people might experience that with household cleaners, or, you know, but I think because I was painting and I was out there for 3 hours with paint fumes, that was part of why it came to be that way.
And it's crazy, right? Because it's such a benign thing. Like, you would never think of it. Oh, I'm just painting over a mole. I moved into a new house. I'm going to paint over this wall because I want to make it look pretty. And then you're breathing it in and you don't even know.
Right.
Yeah. Wow.
And your doctor told you had a TBI?
Yeah, I went to see a neurologist. So he recommended 3 courses of action. The first was a drug called nimodipine that is given to stroke victims. And the second was hyperbaric. He wanted me to do 80 sessions, which was going to be $20,000. And neurofeedback. And I think the neurofeedback was going to cost $2,500 to $5,000. I didn't complete the neurofeedback. But when I went to the hyperbaric clinic, the doctor there, he's great. You may know Dr. Alfred at the clinic up in off of Oakland Park. He's phenomenal. Can't recommend him enough. He asked me what protocol was recommended. I told him, and he said, "Oh, is it Dr. So-and-so?" I was like, "Yeah, how do you know that?" And he said, "Well, he's the only one that recommends that drug."
Wow.
And so he gave me the confidence to question. And that was so powerful, that moment in my life when he gave me just that confidence in myself. And I went from there to CVS to get the drug. And I was just kind of on autopilot. And I sat in the parking lot and I called my husband at the time. I called him and I said, "I don't think I'm going to take this." He said, You have to get better. You're a mess.
Yeah.
And I said, "But I don't think that this is the answer." And he goes, "You should do what the doctor tells you to do."
Right.
And
How many millions of people do that?
We grew up with a mom
Every
saying
day.
that, pick your boogers and eat them, and the doctor said you need to pick your boogers and eat them.
Actually, I'll say this while Miguel
I'm
said
not
that.
kidding.
While Miguel said
For
that.
real, our mother, this is how I got into it. I was sick and tired of being sick.
Yeah.
And by the way, you think your condition was bad? I didn't know you were not supposed to swallow bubble gum. I swallowed, you remember that brand Zebra? It had little zebras and it was a bunch of colors. I would swallow packs and packs of it. And that, until today, I've had gut issues that I'm still dealing with because of not knowing to swallow bubble gum.
And to your point about following doctor's advice, and so you bring up a great point. Biohacking is also about questioning, right?
Yeah.
So we've grown up in this era. And by the way, I'm not like throwing dirt on conventional medicine. They've done great. When we talk about acute medicine, we're one of the best in the world. I mean, you have a heart attack, you have a stroke, you have something like that, you have a gunshot wound, go to the hospital, they'll save your life, right? Yeah. When it comes to treating chronic illnesses and things like mold, I mean, we kind of suck. So, but just to give you a perspective for people about the questioning portion of it, I was 17 years old when a doctor prescribed me with 60 milligrams of Adderall a day.
That sounds like a lot.
If I do 10 today, I'll be wired for 3 days.
Oh, wow.
60 milligrams a day. I was smoking a pack of Marlboro Reds a day because of the anxiety, right? And so, so this goes back to your issue about questioning. And so what made you stand your ground and say, no, I'm not going to do
By the way, before you do, after having that mold, have you ever gotten an HVAC system? Have you even heard of the HVAC?
You mean an air conditioning system?
So the HVAC basically cleans up it keeps the humidity out, and it has a blue light that kills all bacteria that go through the filter. So everything that's being ventilated out.
Yeah.
A lot of people learn about the HVAC when COVID hit. That they were locked in, and they basically realized, let me clean up my filtration system. HVAC is the best way to go to get rid of any microorganisms or just pollutants out of the air, especially out of the AC unit.
Yeah.
I used to run UV lights, just like in a room, shut the door, run the UV light, and
on the AC.
I have an ozone machine that I'll run in the house when I leave.
Oh, beautiful!
You went all the way down.
Yeah.
I clean my air. I'm fucking around. I don't have time to deal with getting sick. In fact, I've gotten almost sick twice in the last year by being really close to somebody really sick. I just get a vitamin drip and I'm over it, right? We don't have to get sick anymore. We don't have to succumb to these things. There's so much out there that we can do.
Well, in fact, actually, when somebody's sick, hey, give me your cup. Let me actually drink out of it, because that will build your immune system. You can only pull that off when you're confident enough that your body has all the resources and you're properly dialed in, and that bacteria or microorganisms that I'm consuming from somebody else are just going to build my immune system even further, right? Yeah. It's either going to break you down or it's going to make you stronger, literally. That's what it does. So this is extreme, though. I wouldn't recommend that to people.
That's hormonic stress I'm not into.
Yes, exactly.
That's an extreme form of biohacking that is not on my list. I'm not drinking after your kids. That's not happening.
But to his point, I'm someone who hasn't gotten sick in over 15 years, which is amazing. I haven't even caught the common cold. I mean, when COVID came around, I was massively exposed on more than a handful of times where I attended the event, everybody was bedridden, some hospitalized. I didn't even have, when I would test, I didn't even have the antibodies, and I never felt a symptom. So I mean, I may be an anomaly, but it just goes to it speaks volumes of when you get optimized.
No, remember when we got it, we were 2 days after surfing 7-foot waves or 6-foot waves in Miami.
Yeah. So when you're optimized, like these things are not this scary monster anymore, because it's like, okay, bring it. You know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
When COVID came around, I was calm. Yeah. Not worried about it, because I knew that I can always use something like an IV vitamin drip, NAC. I can do thymosin alpha 1, right? Zinc, quercetin. And when you understand the dosing and you're already fully dialed in, it's, as Carlos said, bring it.
Bring it.
Right? Hopefully we can get America to be that healthy. It says, bring it, baby.
And I think that's the point. And I think that's the point of your event, right? Like that's like, what was the moment where you said, you know what, I'm going to put something together because I want to bring the truth to people. Because I feel like, and we've had multiple conversations before. We have a relationship, and I always feel like that's where you're coming from when you speak and when you're putting this together.
So it's kind of a funny story. I was getting divorced. And the lawyer asked my ex-husband how I was different before and after the mold. And he said, well, before the mold, she was a real boss bitch. And now she sits in a corner and plays gongs. And,
wow.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
She just went off the deep end, man.
And so I had decided I was going to launch an event, a metaphysical event with like crystals and psychics and
I was going to tell you, I love the background resonance. Are those water
cymatics.
droplets?
Yeah, they're cymatics.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Beautiful.
Thank you.
Did you draw those?
No, they're pictures
they're
someone
pictures.
else took. They're photographs of sound in water.
Okay, so, you were doing gongs, and what happened then?
Because gongs are part of how I healed. That was one of my protocols. I would sit in front of a gong and play for hours, and it was shaking the mold out of my brain, really helped the lymphatic system to detox.
Right.
Oh, did I just teach you something?
Wow. Yeah, it just blew my mind. Really? Wait, there's research behind that?
Yes.
Or that was just
research on vibration, whole body vibration.
Yeah, no, I know that the gongs, it vibrates at the same vibrational frequency as your cells, because we're water. So when it vibrates to that, it moves the limbs.
Right. So I also make sound beds now. I make sound beds that I can play custom frequency through. I happen to like 36 hertz, but that's just me. But we can come back to that. So I called him that night and I said, I don't want to be that person. And he said, well, what do you like so much about the gongs? And I said, well, they're biohacking. He goes, what do you mean they're biohacking? And I explained it to him, like I just explained to you guys. And he said, well, then do that. I was like, what do you mean do that? He goes, do biohacking. I was like, what do you mean do biohacking? He goes, do a biohacking event. Like he has to hit me over the head with it. And I'm like, oh, does that exist? Yeah. And, we've been running Comic-Cons together. And so now I say, instead of teaching people how to dress up like Batman, I'm teaching them how to be like Batman.
I like that.
And so
don't try to dress up like Batman. Be the Batman.
I had a brand. Right, exactly. I had a brand up in 2 weeks' time, and I had never been to an event. And so I just figured it out along the way.
That's amazing. So I want to talk to you about a little bit about, like I said, look, we go to tons of events. And what really surprised me about your event was the people, the vendors that were there. super legitimate, like tons of studies behind their technology. And it wasn't just any technology, it was the technology, right? So like I said, I spent a ton of money at the event just buying stuff and meeting people. I mean, you had, a common friend of ours, Dr. Hamil Patel, which we enjoy very much. I mean, his credentials are amazing, and a ton of other different people. So how do you, like, tell me a little bit about, like, what was your sort of like your standard for curating these people?
I think it's just real simple. I actually care about people getting better.
Yeah.
And there is some noise in this industry,
For sure.
especially if you're going to events that are geared more towards the clinic. I think that the industry is changing so fast right now. Like, there are so many companies out there that want to promise this, that, or the other is going to make a med spa profitable, when it's just not, it's not coming true. And the model's changing. We're at a point in time where if you aren't empowering the consumer to do this on their own at home, then you're missing the point.
Yeah.
Very true.
Yeah, that's a big point. And that, it's funny that you just said that, because a couple of years ago, we were like thinking about, getting this office and having all these toys and all this stuff. And although that was cool, we said, let's just invest more into empowering, educating people on strategies on how to do this themselves at home. Like, because that is the ultimate gift when knowledge is power, but knowledge in action is really the power. So like for us, it was more valuable for us to teach people how to stack things, because, like we say all the time, like red light is great, cold plunging is great. Like all of these things, HRT is great, peptides are great, but you can't silo them. They're all tools as a part of a lifestyle that you can use to really benefit and be the best version of yourself. So we decided a couple of years ago, hey, I don't want this model where people have to come and visit me, and they may be living in Ohio or something, and they have to travel thousands of miles and hundreds of dollars on tickets to come and see us. Let's just bring healing to their home. Let's bring them the knowledge. Let's bring them the power and the strategies that they can use, like the recommendations. Hey, you want to buy a red light? Go to this brand. You want to buy a cold plunge? Go to this brand. This is when you have to do it. This is how you should incorporate it. So you strike a great chord there with empowering the individual and bringing this to their home, for sure.
Yeah.
And then I would have guessed that the next thing that you will invest in is how to measure everyone's data from home in a way that allows you to personalize recommendations. And use AI for that.
That's one of the things you hit it on the head. Like, I think that the biggest obstacle technologically that we face as a company is, how do we create a portal where we can take all of these, these metrics, the Oura Ring. So, we just had a podcast with the director of Lumen, which is the metabolic device, and how to link all these things and correlate the progress that they're seeing there with their labs and their lifestyle and all of the success that they're having on so many different fronts, right? Because it's not just our body, right? It's our emotions, it's our relationships, it's the fulfillment that we get from our life, right? And all these things are tools to get you there.
It's funny you're saying that. Next Thursday on our calendar, we have a meeting with an AI specialist who basically helped to build, I don't want to say a name, but one of the biggest clinics. And we're having a meeting about how to use AI, not only to help us integrate all that data, but for the AI to create sort of a reproducible result where it can feed it back to the patient and said, hey, you took this last month 22% more steps than last month. Your HRV has improved by 10%. Good. It's at 55. Bring it up to 60, right? And where the AI itself becomes its your own coach, obviously being supervised by us and us creating metrics that it creates an alarm system when it hits a certain number or goes over a certain range too fast. But I think that that's the biggest thing of the future now as well. It's how do you implement AI into all the stuff that you're doing so you can collect data easier and faster and make it easy, more accessible and less overwhelming for the consumer.
And how to make
because it's overwhelming.
Yeah,
The Oura
It
Ring,
is
the
overwhelming.
Lumen, the bed, there's so much information. Just the Oura Ring. When you log in, me that I'm a freak about looking at it, there's so much data. There's so much to look at it. It's like, hey, just start with a HRV, your
deep sleep.
But your HRV, your blood pressure, your heart rate, your HRV, deep sleep, and REM sleep. That's it. Then you can start playing with the rest, right? So that's what we do. We try to help you find the most important things that you need to be looking at that are causing 90% of the effect.
Yeah, how to make sense of this data so that you can create an action plan for your life. How to and how to be able to predict things, but also how to adapt. Hey, we were just having a conversation of, I slept like crap. Should I fast today, right? And how to make that determination based on data.
Or should I cold plunge, or should I be stressing my body even more, right?